Hello and welcome to the Knitting Traditions Podcast. My name is Inga and this is my little corner on the internet where I talk about my knitting. Mostly knitting and sometimes dabble in other crafty endeavors, but knitting is my love and my passion, and it's what you are here for probably if you're a returning viewer. Today finally found the time to record again. I feel like it's been a while and it's always kind of hard to get back into podcasting when it's been a few weeks. We're in the end of August, I think, August 24th today, if I'm not mistaken, and I am sitting in the attic because I found out last time that I like the lighting here. So I'm going to show you what I have been working on since last time. And I have some exciting life news, but I'm going to put that at the end of the video. Try to remember. And we can start with what I am wearing. I am wearing the Copenhagen cardigan by Petite Knit. This is a cardigan which is knit back and forth. It uses a fingering weight and a mohair, I think. I used the British wool comb and a silk mohair from Esayer, a combination. And I really like that combination of yarn. The silk mohair gives it a bit of a shine. The color of the British wool is Loden green. It's their 4-ply cone. And I followed the pattern, but I did not do buttons and buttonholes because I just wear it open as it is, and I'm really happy with that decision. I also don't have big pockets, but I do think these are the pockets that were in the pattern. If I were to do it again, I might modify it to make the pockets bigger, just because I would like the pockets to be able to fit my phone safely. I do want to make more cardigans with pockets, but I seem to only be knitting on cardigans without pockets, so I need to find another cast on at some point. And I need to take a sip. It gets really warm up here on the 3rd floor of the house, south facing, with the little bit of sun that we have on the west coast of Norway. Another finished object since last time is this little cardigan, which was basically a finished cast-off finished object last time, but I hadn't done the buttons and buttonholes. And I got a lot of lovely links and techniques from you guys over on Instagram and on here. And the one that I went for, I think, is the tutorial by Kimmy Munkholm, who has a lot of video tutorials for petite knit pattern techniques. I did consider just doing snap buttons, but I didn't like how it looked when the cardigan was open. I preferred the look of the little wooden buttons, which I have fastened very securely because I don't want them to be pulled off. And I will see if this will be worn open or closed. Cardigans are more convenient for dressing and undressing, but this is how the buttonholes turned out. And I think it's fine. I could have probably avoided buttonholes because I did check and see that I could just push the buttons through the stitch. But I was worried that doing that repeatedly might tear the yarn at some point, so I did do the buttonholes. I was a good girl in the end. The yarn that I used for this cardigan, let me look at my cheat sheet, was the Lang Donegal Merino, which is 100% merino, and 7890067 is the colorway. And I used less than 2 balls of yarn for this, but I did need 2 balls of yarn, so I probably used like 1.5 for the 9 to 12 month size. So that's one finished object. This is a finished object as well, but it's not knitting. This is my first attempt at weaving, and I used the knitter's loom from Ashford is the brand. The loom I was gifted from Unit in Toronto, and this was the creation of my first trial using Holst Super Soft for both the weft and warp. I don't really know the terminology. This is the length that I got from setting it up on my dining table. If I am gonna set it up again, I will look into how I can make it longer. It works just fine as like a scarf that you want to tuck down into a cardigan. But if I were to wear it open like this, it looks a little bit funny. But I'm really happy with like how the colors turn out and everything. I am quite a simple person when it comes to clothing. I don't get drawn towards like too much going on. I mean, some point I will probably do one with different colors and stuff, but for the first attempt, I just wanted to keep it plain, colors that I like. I think this is the cinnamon colorway, and this might be the almond, if there is such a colorway from Holst Super Soft. It's not super soft, it's very woolly. It's quite thin yarn, like thin fingering. But yeah, it's a nice little warm neck piece, and I made it myself, which I'm really proud of. And now I want to make a big one. Big, big, big. So both wide and long, so it could be more of a blanket kind of thing. And then I want to set up the knitter's loom to make it, to make like a really long scarf. I just need to figure out how to do that. So this is one finished object. And I have done quite a bit of progress on my Setesdal kofte, which is a very traditional Norwegian knitted jacket pattern. There are several traditional looking ones. There are some books in Norway where you have more than 40 different kofte patterns that are kind of regional. So you have, this is from the Setesdal region, you have one from Nordkapp, I know there is one from Fana in Bergen, there is one from Sunnfjord, where I live now, so a lot of different designs, and I kind of want to make the one from here. The Setesdal is a well-known pattern. It's actually for free online in Norwegian. I know that both Rauma and Sandnesgarden sell a lot of PDF patterns for the traditional kofte patterns, but they're all in Norwegian. This one I found for free online, but I did buy it as a kit from Rauma 2 years ago, I think, maybe. And since last time I have finished all of the knitting, and I have I marked the armholes for the sleeves, and then with the sewing machine I knit down, across and up because it was open up here on the shoulders, and then I cut it and I've sewed in the sleeves. Both of them are sewn in. The front has been secured by a sewing machine and cut, so you can see the cut edge here with the seam from the sewing machine going down and another one up here. And I have started the button bands. I'm knitting this in the Rauma Finul. I really love that yarn, and it works really well for color work. It's 100% wool. So I've started the button band. So this is the button band with the lining, which is going to secure the cut edge and cover it on the inside. So for the sleeves, you kind of knit the lining with the sleeves. So that one I have already tucked down, just whip stitched around. So the cut edge of the armhole, because the sleeves didn't get cut, the body did. So that cut edge is hidden inside this. And yeah, so I have to do the button bands. I did wet block this already, and they say that for the button bands you knit it until it's the right length when you stretch it a bit. So I think right now probably need to do a few more rows because I don't want to have to stretch it too much to make it fit, and just hopefully I just stretch it the right amount. It doesn't specify what that is, and then I will have to knit on the other side. The first one is knit for the buttons, and then you will knit the other side and make the buttonholes as you go to match the buttons on the other side. And then in the end, the last part will be doing the neckline, which I think is double folded, but I'll have to look into the pattern. If you are interested in this, it is for free in Norwegian and it's all charted, but there is of course some text, like how many stitches to cast on and how many centimeters to knit it and that kind of stuff. But I mean, Google Translate is your friend if you want to try yourself at this. I think it's going to be really nice. I wish it had pockets, but it's going to be a nice layering piece. I knit the large size because I do want to wear it as like an outer piece and have other stuff underneath, and it'll fit more people as well. This one I made it more cropped than in the pattern, so we'll see how it looks in the end, but I think it's going to be a good size. It's not cropped. I think it's gonna hit my hip bones or something, so it's not like a tummy cropped or anything. But the one that I made last year, the Damejakke number 7, that one is down on my thighs, so kind of a different shape to this one, lengthwise. So that is one project on my needles. Another project on my needles that you have seen, let's do it in that order, is this shawl blanket garter thing that is taking forever. But I have gotten quite far. So I had 2 balls of this yarn from Manos del Uruguay, which is 800 meters per 100 grams. And I joined the second ball here. So I have done quite a bit on it. I cast on 360 stitches because that's what, when I measured my gauge and the swatch of this, that's what would give me the size of my largest half and half wrap, which I really like. And if I make this into a square, I can fold it and it'll work like a half and half triangle. Or it can be a baby blanket, or if I quit now, maybe like a shawl, but I think it will be too short, so we'll see. The needle size that I'm using is 3.25, and I have this little cute needle stoppers on here just because I don't want these slipper stitches to slip off. So I have secured it. So that is just knitting away slowly but mindless, but I do have to look at it because the yarn is so thin that if I don't look at my stitches, it's easy to kind of catch the stitch below or drop a stitch, or yeah, so I do have to look at it, which is why it's taking me a bit longer to knit on. So I have 2 new whips, but I do have a crochet object that I showed last time that I've started assembling. So this is the Dainty Daisy blanket? Let's see. It's the Dainty Daisy Granny Square Blanket Pattern. So that's a long title, by Just Be Crafty or Brittany Collin. And this pattern is both free on her blog, and she has YouTube videos that you could literally follow from the beginning to end. That's what I have done. But I did buy her PDF as well, just to have it support her and not have the commercials. But to be honest, I have only used the videos to make this. And I have started assembling, so I have done 6 vertical rows. I have 12 different colors. So what I have done is I have one of each colors in one vertical row. And I forgot to bring this color home from Turkey, and I only have made 6 flowers with this color. I'm using the Elise Cotton Gold yarn. So for the other colors, I have enough for 5 more vertical rows, but I do need to make some more of this dark pink one in order to do that. So I just assembled what I had for now, just to kind of see how broad it is and how much more I would ideally want it to be. And I would probably want it to be at least twice as wide as this. Maybe even more if this is the width I'm going for a baby blanket. I don't know. Is this long enough for a baby blanket, or should it be the width? It's a lot of work if it needs to be the width and not the length. But yeah, we'll see. I have woven in some ends as I've gone, but I didn't weave in the final white thread of making the square. And for some of the first flowers that I made, I didn't weave in the first yellow thread of the beginning of the flower, but I've done that later. So I have never made this before, so I didn't know how to kind of hide the end as I went, because can you really? So I decided to just put it together, and then I will weave in those single strands of each square at the end, and it's fine. So I started attaching this yesterday. I attached them all in an evening, and I removed the threads of the first 4 or 5 rows already. So it's not bad. It's going actually quite fast-ish. But yeah, I need to make more of these and attach them. I have this little sewn bag with the crochet hook, which is a 3.5 millimeter tulip or size 6. And then inside it I have all the little squares that I have made and more yarn for making the edges of new ones. But I need more of the dark pink, and I have it, just not in this country, so later. But I do have a trip planned, so I will just have to remind myself to not forget the dark pink. So that is one whip, and then I have 3 new whips to show you. So one of the whips is a blanket that has been on my kind of dream knit list for several years. So I'm running the Dream Knit Cal. It's really a mal, it doesn't have to be knitting. It's running all year, and I'll have some prices at the end of the year. But if there's something that you've been wanting to make but you just haven't gotten around to, this is your chance. And whips are allowed. Just post on Instagram with the Dream Knit Cal hashtag and you can win. So this is a circular lace blanket, and I don't know if I've written down in my cheat sheet the pattern. I don't know. I haven't written it down, but it's, I always confuse two designers, so I'm gonna put it on screen. Is it number 5 or number 1? I don't know. It's on screen and it's also down below. I put this off for such a long time because I thought it was going to be so difficult, because if you look at it, it's very intricate looking, and it looks like it's a lot of difficult stitches, but it's not. If you know how to knit, purl, knit through the back loop, slip stitches, knit 2 together, you can figure this one out. And it went quite quickly. I used the recommended needle size, which is 4 millimeters, and I just have a little bit of the edging left, because you start in the middle, knit in a circle, and then you apply a lace border around afterwards. And this is how far I've gotten with one skein of yarn. But I'm not using the recommended yarn. The recommended yarn for this pattern is the number 4 from Gull, which you're supposed to hold double on the 4 millimeter needles. And this is 650 meters per 100 grams. And I do have enough of this yarn. I got this yarn for this pattern, but I also got this other yarn at the Gull store, and I really wanted this to be in this color. So this is the number 3, which is a different yarn base and weight from Gull. And this one is 450 meters per 100 grams. So it's thicker than the number 4, but it's not twice as thick. So probably if I would have used the recommended combination, this would be bigger. But I do think that I can block it out nicely, because right now it's a little bit of an odd nipple shape. But I do think I can block it out, I hope. And if it's small, it can work as a doily or just like a decorational piece. But it is intended as a baby blanket. And I really like the combination of the color and the lace. And I can't get enough. It's like a really nice browny gray color. I'm really in love with this color. I can feel autumn when I'm knitting with this. Let's see if there's some information on it. This is the number 3 lot B1, and this is undyed yarn. So this grayish brown is the natural color of the sheep, which is lamb's wool from New Zealand, 100% lamb's wool. So this is definitely more woolly than the intended Falkland Merino Gotland blend. So maybe I will make another one, because it was really an addictive knit. I think I knit the circle in like 3 days or something. And now I just need to skein up, cake up. I need to cake up another one. So I will make this with less than 200 grams, while the recommended amount is 300 grams for the pattern. So I'll have enough to make 2. So if the shape turns out nice once I've blocked it, maybe I can make another one for a gift. We'll see. We shall see. And another 3-day whip is the famous Ranunculus that everyone has been wearing lately on their podcasts. I've made 3 before. My favorite one is the one that I've made in Fibra Natura from Papyrus in like a beigey white. And then I also have a long sleeved one in British wool, which is really nice as well because it's so lightweight and warm. And I found some more of the, you're not even gonna see this black yarn. I found some more Papyrus fibra natura in Turkey in the black color, and this yarn is made in Turkey. And I couldn't help myself. I really wanted a black one. So believe me or not, this is a black ranunculus. If I go up close, you can see the texture. And it really wasn't hard knitting with this dark yarn at all, as long as it wasn't pitch black outside. It was fine. And I have done the yoke and the sleeves, which I've done some alterations to. I cast on with the old Norwegian cast on, just because I like that cast on, and the two options in the pattern confuse me. So I do the old Norwegian cast on for the amount of stitches, which is the bigger one. So in the pattern, I have the original pattern, which is only one size. But for the neckline, there are 2 stitch options for the 2 different cast-ons. I do the old Norwegian cast-on with the largest amount of stitches. And then for the raglan part, which is after the yoke, I do the amount of rows that is in the pattern, but I do raglan increases every second row only. So if you have the pattern, you know that at some portion of it, it's not every second row anymore. But I do every second row for the amount of rows that are in the pattern. And then I just knit the sleeves straight until I'm happy with the length, and then I do a twisted rib to match the rib in the neck, and then I bind off, just a regular bind off, keep it simple. And then I find the splitting for body and sleeves in the pattern a bit confusing as well, so I just do it how I always do it, and I cast on 6 stitches underneath the sleeve, and then when I pick up stitches for the sleeve, I pick up 6 plus 2 on each side to not have any gaps. And I don't do any decreases to that because I have bigger arm circumference, so I don't want it small. And this is actually fitted on me, so maybe if I make it again, I will do more raglan increases only for the sleeve and not the body, because I don't want the body to be huge. So now I just have the body left, and I don't know how long I want to make it. I'll probably just try it on underways and figure out when I want to do the twisted rib edge for the body, and then it'll be done. So far I have used, is it 2, 3? I think I've used 3 balls of yarn this far of the Papyrus fibra natura, and I'm using 5.5 millimeter needles, which is 1 size smaller than recommended. And I really like the fit of it for my size. I know that the pattern has now come up with more sizing, so that is really great. I just haven't looked into if I need to buy it again or if I can download the new version, but I have this version and it's worked for me in the past, so I haven't bothered looking too much into it. I'm just using what I have downloaded on my phone. So really quick project, and I'm looking forward to having the finished object as well. And then I have a big whip, which you have not seen yet. So I need to open this. In the last episode, I showed you this beautiful yarn that I was sent. So this is Villull, and this is the color Balder. And I was sent this from Britt Strickenerd. She's both on Instagram and YouTube. And she lives on a farm with her husband in Norway, and they have the old Norwegian wild sheep, which is one of the oldest sheep breeds. At least in Norway, it's the oldest. And she is trying to promote the use of this wool, which is kind of neglected in today's society. And she sent me this yarn to try from her own sheep. So this is the Ranunculus from Nærklubben Gård, so that's the name of the farm, Frøya. And it's spun at a Norwegian mill, which is called Selbu Spinneri. And she sent me this colorway and this colorway. And I have used up almost everything in this color. This is the color Ulla. I needed to write it down because the ball band fell off. And I was looking for Garter cardigans, and you guys sent me some great options for it. And I made a little story highlight on my Instagram, which is also Knitting Traditions, if you want to get some inspiration. So there's a mix of paid for patterns and free patterns in Garter. So it's a really nice way of knitting a cardigan without the purling. Or some of them has some purling, but it's minimal. So this is the clawed cardigan that I went for, and it's knit back and forth, so it's the garter, right? And then the sleeves in the pattern, there are two options. You can either knit it back and forth and then stitch it together afterwards, or you can knit it round and around, but then you will have to purl every second row. I opted for that because I don't mind purling that much. And this was on quite chunky needles, 8mm needles, so there really isn't many rows before the sleeves are long enough. The pattern is from Colibri by Joanna, and I had 7 balls of this yarn, which is a DK weight, and I held the yarn double to make this chunky piece. And I did some math to make sure that I had enough meterage to make this with the yarn that I was sent, compared to the original yarn recommended, and I was a bit worried that I was gonna run out, but as you see, I made it. This is my last ball. I don't have a lot, but I did make it. I think I made it slightly shorter, but I am expecting this to sag and elongate quite a bit because it is a heavier piece. It's about 700 grams. It's quite a dense yarn. This is a proper like jacket piece. I have finished knitting the main part, and now it's just the edgings, the button bands, and the cuffs of the sleeves left to go. And I was thinking of using the darker color for the edging, but this is a very rustic yarn. So if you love the rustics, you will love using the Vilsau sheep yarn. It's comparable to the Icelandic sheep, but I would say this is even more rustic. So as I was knitting on it, having it on my lap, it was itching me. But I do think it's going to be perfect as a jacket when it's cold out. It's going to be like a nice source of warmth to put on. But I was thinking that it would be nice for the edge that is going to be close to my neck, which is my most sensitive area, and close cuffs, if that was not as prickly. So I opted for a combination of Filcolana Arvetta, the Filcolana Tilia, and this unnamed light fingering weight of alpaca that I've had in my stash for a long time, and I really don't have a lot of it, but definitely enough to make the edgings that I need for this cardigan. So those three together are making the edges, and I think I'm using a different size needle for the edge, 5.5mm needles. And yeah, I think knitting this took me 3 days, and I have finished the bottom part, which you can see is knit at a tighter gauge, and this is very soft, especially when you have the contrast together. And now I need to do the cuffs of the sleeves and the button bands. And I already have some buttons picked out for this. I think it's recommended to have 4 buttons, and I have gotten some buttons, but I don't have them here, so I'll show you when I have finished this. But it's going to be a great cardigan to have when fall and winter hits. And honestly, in Norway, August, I've always thought of August as fall because it's been 8 Celsius and rain, and the trees are already turning yellow. So I'm feeling it already. So that was that whip. Now I'll just double check that I don't have more whips that I have forgotten about. But I don't think so. I haven't made any progress on my Cumulus tee, which is in here, but I will get around to it. So I have the Cumulus tee in black yarn, and I cast on the Ranunculus in black summer yarn, and I don't know, the Cumulus tee is just 3mm needles, and I need to look at it more than the Cumulus one, so it's taking a little bit longer to finish, but I will love the finished object. So, and the fact that I'm thinking of making it into dress means there's a lot more knitting involved, so it's just, I don't see the end or the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, just yet. And I wanted something a bit quick, like instant gratification. I think that is all of the knitting. And I have hair. I'm eating fibers. It's not a pleasant feeling when it's like tickling the back of your throat. If you know, you know. But yes, so life news. If you're just here for the knitting, then I will see you next time. Thank you for staying with me. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about what's going on in my life, then stick around. So I think 1 or 2 have already guessed at what's going on with my life for the past few months, but I have kind of kept it secret for a while. But me and Matthias are expecting our first baby, and we're about halfway through the pregnancy. We just had our routine ultrasound and everything is going great with the baby. I am feeling meh, as one often does, but the baby is looking healthy, and that is kind of what we wanted to see before we shared with the world, because I work as a doctor in obstetrics and gynecology, which has probably damaged the way that I look at pregnancy and birth a little bit, because I only see the bad parts. So I just wanted to see that everything was okay before sharing it with the interwebs. So everything has gone as planned this far. We were expecting that we might have to try for a year or 2, but everything went well, so we were very blessed, and it's a little girl, which I am very happy about. And I think, yeah, it's going to be a January baby, so I have already been knitting quite a bit of woolen things, and I was very fortunate to inherit some of the baby clothes that my mom kept for me from when I was a baby that my grandmother knit. So I have several pieces, and I was thinking maybe of doing like a little baby knits episode at some point if I have the time and energy to do so. There's a lot of cool retro patterns that I have already ready and waiting for the baby. What else? I've been feeling nauseous and dizzy and all the good stuff, but I can't really complain. It's a set amount of time before those issues will go away, and hopefully we'll have a healthy little girl at the end of it. So I'm just kind of nesting and preparing, and I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I'll probably have most of the things that we need ready before a lot of my friends have had things ready. I just want to have everything under control, at least the things that I can have under control, and then just try to enjoy the good things about all the exciting changes that are happening. Yes. If you're from Norway, you probably know how everything works here. If you're not, I work as a doctor in obstetrics and gynecology. Here the midwives do everything when it comes to the controls and the delivery, as long as everything is normal. If something is abnormal, you'll go to the doctor, and if there's some issues during delivery, the doctor gets kind of called in. So I have only seen the issues, but I'm hoping that I will not have those issues. It's exciting, to say the least, but hopefully everything will go okay and we'll have a healthy little girl at the end of it. And then I'm planning to take some time off from work. So in Norway, you have two kinds of maternity leave. So one is where both the mother and the father, or if there's two mothers or two fathers, take 100% salary, and then there's like a set amount of weeks for the mom and a set amount of weeks for the dad, and then they have a joint pot that they can share however they want to. But you can stay home longer if you take the 80% salary. So you'll have 80% monthly salary, but you'll have more weeks to stay home. Financially, it's the better option for most people to do the 100% and then have unpaid leave if you want to stay home longer. And I think that's what we're gonna go for. I will have my weeks plus all of the joint pots, so hopefully can breastfeed. And then he will have his weeks, and then we'll have our vacation weeks, and then I'll have 3 months of unpaid leave, and that will let me stay at home approximately 12 months. So that is pretty good. If I were to go back to work, it's like saying bye-bye to breastfeeding, because I work 26-hour shifts. And in Norway, you are entitled to 2 hours off the first year, I think. I have to look into it. But at least the first year, maybe first 2 years, you have the right to have 2 hours off to breastfeed. But whether you work an 8-hour day or a 26-hour day, which is, I don't know about anyone else than doctors and that do that, you still only get those 2 hours. So not the best if you want to breastfeed. So I'm hoping that breastfeeding goes okay, and then I plan to stay home for a year. And then when the baby is a year, you have the right for a spot in kindergarten. We don't have our parents living close by, so I mean, I do have family here, but not like my mom and dad or siblings that I can ask and rely on to watch the baby. So staying home for a year, and then hopefully we'll get a spot in kindergarten right across from work, so it'll be close. And yeah, it's exciting times. I mean, I'm a doctor, so I know about all the anatomy and the physical stuff, but raising a child, no experience, so that'll be fun. No, it's gonna be good. Just a lot of things to learn, but that is exciting. So hopefully everything goes well and I can knit some cute little things. I still enjoy knitting for myself mostly. They're so fidgety, the little baby things, but I do want to have some things, so I will continue to knit a little bit of both. Now since I was gifted knits from when I was a child, I do have a lot for like the first year of the baby. So maybe I'll make something for like bigger sizes to have, because maybe all my knitting time will be gone. Who knows? Hopefully not. Hopefully I have one of those babies who likes to sleep and will eat what it needs to eat. Yeah, crossing fingers. So yeah, that is some very big life-changing news. We're very happy and very lucky that everything has gone the way we wanted to this far. I mean, of course, you could wish for one of those pregnancies with no health issues, but nothing out of the ordinary. So all is well. And on that note, I probably forgot to talk about things that I wanted to talk about, but I hope that I'll be back on here soon and that I will have more knitting to show you guys. And until then, I will chat to you on Instagram if you are on there, and I will see you soon. Stay happy, warm, snuggly, and knitting. Bye!